Hi, this is Gary. Welcome to today's video. So a few days ago, I took a trip up to Perth. I went exploring, and in Perth there's a fountain pen shop, and there I bought myself this pen. So as you can see, it's in that Lamy box. There we go, there's Lamy for you. And there's the name of the shop. So I'll treat myself. First time I've really bought a pen in person for quite a long time. I normally buy via mail order. So join me down on the mat. We'll take a look at the pen. We'll look at the ink that I'm going to use in it. We'll ink it up, do a writing sample, and then I'll give you my first impressions. So here we are down on the mat. Here's our box. Let's quickly look inside and see what we've got. So I'm just going to open it at this end, slide out the pen. Doesn't want to come out today. Here we go. So that's sliding out. Is there anything else in there? So we've got an ink cartridge. I'm going to put that to one side. The ink cartridge actually does come with the pen. So here we have it. This is the Lamy AL-Star. Let me just quickly take the sticker off. Okay, so I've got the worst of that residue off. Let me just fetch this back in. There we go. So as I say, this is the Lamy AL-Star and the colour is dark purple. The colour is what jumped out at me, I've got to be honest. It's really different than a lot of the other pens I've got. I got this pen because I've already got a Lamy Safari, so let me fetch that in. And this is the aluminium version, really, of that same pen. I struggle with the Lamy Safari. I don't know if it's too light, I'm not sure. So I thought, well, it could be the nib on it, it could be all sorts of issues. So I needed to get another Lamy really to test it out. So that's where I thought, well, I'll get this AL-Star. It's a similar shape, just different materials. Get that out of the way. So let's take a quick look. At the top here, we've got, I would say it's like a net. It looks a little bit like a screw thing. We come down into this material, which is aluminium. Got this nice silver clip, which is nice and springy. There's still some residue on there. I will clear that off later on. The cap is the same width all the way down. Bottom of the cap, there's a fairly steep drop off down to the body. The body very similar to that Safari. So we've got a flat, we've got a curved edge, flat on the bottom, curved edge, and then we're back here. We've got a window here so we can actually see how much ink's there. And then coming down near the bottom, we've got the word Lamy etched on one side. Then at the bottom, just got another blank there. We just pull off the cap. The caps pull off and that reveals this nib. So what I've done here, I'm trying to explore different nibs. So what I've got is a 1.5 stub. Again, the beauty of going to a physical shop, I was able to pick the nib that I wanted and it was installed for me. Whereas when you buy offline, you're actually quite limited unless you buy separate nibs. But then that all adds to the price, doesn't it? Let's take a quick look at it. It's very simple. So it's silver. There's no breather hole. We've got the number 1.5 and then below that we've got Lamy. I like simple nibs. They don't have to be complex, do they? Just quickly, slowly turn it over just so that you can see the bottom. So there's a plastic feed there. The section is transparent. Now what I'm hoping is I can actually see my ink in there. I don't know until I've tried it. As I say, this is the first time I've had an AL-Star, so I'm looking forward to seeing what it's like. We've got a really noticeable lip at the bottom, but that's part of the whole way that you're meant to hold the pen. It's got this like tripod set. So it actually guides your fingers where they should be. I like that idea. And I hold my pens low down anyway, so for me, it's perfect. So the top of the section, we've got what looks like a rubber O-ring. Then as we're coming into the body, if I open this up, there we've got the plastic holder. Now what I had to do is separately, I had to purchase a converter. So the pen itself was 75 Aussie dollars. Then I had to pay an extra $10 to get the converter. Now, I personally prefer converters rather than cartridges. I'll just install that. That just snaps in. Then it goes down and up. Let me pop that back on, put the pen back together. I do love this colour, I really do. It's quite unusual. And I've got a really nice ink to put in it, which I think will fairly well complement the colour of the pen. I'm not sure how this comes over on the screen, but on my preview, the pen looks a lot pinker than it is. I will try and correct the colour when I'm editing it, but the colour is a dark purple. It's not this crimson that I'm seeing on my preview window. So just be aware of that. I'm now going to step away from the computer. I'm going to give the pen a clean out. When I come back, we'll take a look at the ink. We'll fill it up, do a writing sample, then I'll give you my first impressions. So I've cleaned out the pen. Most of the stuff that was left where I removed that sticker, I've managed to scrub off. I mean, literally, I've had to scrub this. There's still some left on there, so hopefully that will come off over time. I understand why they need to put the stock stickers on there, but they don't think about the poor consumer, do they, who has to try and get that garbage off there. Time to take a look at the ink. So the ink I'm going to use today it's by Cult Pens. It's actually made by Diamine, but it's the Cult Pens and it's called Little Bob. I've got to be honest, when I bought this pen, it was purely with this ink in mind. I think this is really nice. It's got that purple background to it, but there's this gorgeous gold sheen. I'm hoping that comes over nicely on the camera. Let me just try. There we go. I think it's going to look really nice, and especially in this 1.5 stub nib. So let's fetch the ink in. So the ink holder for today is Quickie Koala. I'm just going to agitate the bottle a little bit, make sure we've got the best chance of getting that sheen to come through. And in we come. So there we go. So let's open the pen. So there's the converter. I've cleaned the converter out as well as the section. And the reason I do this, especially with Lamy, is in the factory, they normally test these. So there was a little bit of blue ink in the feed. So by giving it a clean out, I've got rid of all that gunk. So let's fill this up. In it goes. And we come up with the converter. I know I need to get another camera so you can actually see this happening. Down it goes again. And then comes up. I always like to do this twice. Gives me the best chance of getting a good fill. And look at that, that converter is virtually full. You just clean off the section. I'll pop the pen back together. There we go. Right, let me get this bottle out of the way before I end up knocking it over and having sparkly purple ink all over the place. So time to jump in and our writing sample. So here we go. We've got a Lamy. Or a Lamy, I'm not sure how to pronounce that. AL-Star. And that's got a 1.5 stub nib. The ink, Cult Pens, Little Bob. Love the line. Really glad I explored a little bit and got this 1.5 stub. I did think about a 1.9, but looking at this, that would have just been way, way too thick for me. Let's look at our drying times. So we go immediate. 10 seconds. 30 seconds. That's dried off quite a lot, hasn't it, already? Finally, 1 minute. After a minute, that's lovely and dry. The next test, I'm going to move the mic close to the paper so you can hear the pen write. That's actually quite nice. One of the things I will say, I can feel the pen catching on the paper. Now that could be the nature of the stub nib. I need to do a bit more investigation into that, but it's definitely there. It's definitely catching. It's not dragging, it's catching. I'm loving the colour coming out on here. I think we can see there some of that gold sheen coming through. Hopefully again that comes through on the camera. What I like about this nib is the line difference. You know, we've got these cross lines here, like the top of the Z, the top there with that G, where they're really nice and thin, but then that's complemented by the thickness of the lines, and especially where You know, we've got thin, thick, thin. I think it looks really nice. Look at the X, where the different sizes on the different ways that I'm writing the lines. Really like that. You know, let's just do... Here, somebody asked a few weeks ago for me to start doing these. You know, so you can see the difference. You know, there's going down, and there's going across. So the X looks quite nice, because I've got the wide face when I'm going down, and then going the opposite direction, I've got the thin face. I really do think that adds a lot of character to the writing. And for me, that's one of the things I like about using fountain pens and inks. It's not just the range of pens, it's not just the range of colours of the inks. It's the character that you can fetch out when you're writing with it. I mean, at the end of the day, all a pen needs to do is let you get ideas out of your head and onto paper, but why can't we enjoy it? So what are my first impressions of this pen? Love the colour. Weight-wise, it's not much different than I see in the Safari. Yes, this isn't very scientific, just doing it by hand. When I do my full review, I will do actual weights on the scales. It feels nice in the hand. You know, it's nice to hold, especially with the way it guides your fingers down, so you've got the right way of holding it. Does it post? It will do. Makes it a little bit longer, but I don't tend to post my pens anyway. It was 75 Aussie dollars plus $10 for the converter, so $85 for the pen. I've got to be honest, I think I can get other pens in roughly the same price range which I would enjoy or even get more use of. And there I'm thinking of something like the TWSBI Diamond 580, a number of different Pen BBS pens. You know, there's quite a lot of different pens in that price range. It's nice to have that Lamy or Lamy. Again, I'm not sure how it should be pronounced. I hear it so many different ways. I think it's definitely nicer to write with than the Safari. Now, in the Safari, I've got a broad nib, and I've got to be honest, I do struggle with it. It's a pen just hasn't taken with me. Whereas this one, it does feel nicer. But is that down to the nib? Because, as I say, I can see a lot more character in this nib, but it could be down to the ink because, you know, it's got that gold in there as well as the purple, which again fetches interest to the way it writes. Am I glad I've got it? Yep, definitely am. I need to use this pen a little bit more, but at the moment, if I was pushed, I would say no, I would not buy another one, but let me play around with it for a few more weeks. Then when I do my full comparison, and I will compare it with the Safari, I'll be able to really better say whether I think it's a pen worth me buying more of. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. Do you have an All-Star? Do you have a Safari? Do you have any other Lamy pens? What are your thoughts on them? Why not drop a comment down below? Let's kickstart the conversation. Please hit the thumbs up button every time you like the video, every time you comment, every time you share. It just helps me to grow my audience through the YouTube algorithm. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel so that you can get new videos as I release them. I'll talk to you again soon.